Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special program sponsored by TNT China 101. Now, let me give you a short introduction about this program. So TNT Daily has been doing English version of what is happening in China, basically breaking news for a long time. What we strive to do over here is to tell people living in the United States, basically Western world in general, what is actually happening in China. Because as you may already know, if you turn on your TV and you watch CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News on a lot of occasions, you don't know what is happening in China. All they talk about is Trump, 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 and how Trump is bad, or in case of Fox News, how Trump is good. Nobody really focus on what is happening in China. But however, China is, in the 21st century, the biggest challenge to the United States of America and Western world in general. And that is why we think the existence of TNT is so important. And now we bring you this China 101, which we want to tell you some really, really basic fact about China, what it is, why is it like this, and how did we all got here. And today our topic is, will China attack Taiwan? And right after this, we will have two guests, Mushi, Alice, and Alexis, that will be our guests tonight and asking some questions after we finish our story. Now, so let's start. So we all know when you look at the map of China, to the south of China there are two islands. There's the Hainan Island, which is always been part of mainland China, and there's the island of Taiwan. Now, if you ask the people of Taiwan, they tell you they're an independent country. But you ask the people of mainland, they said that Taiwan is a rogue province. It belongs to China, but they want the independence, and it is illegal to separate a united country. So that is why every time when Taiwan said, "Hey, we want independence. We want to become our own. We want to become a state that recognized by the rest of the world," well, China get really upset. And for a really long time, ever since Deng Xiaoping came into power, there's always this thought of peaceful unification. But recently, after President Xi Jinping, or as what people call him now, the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping came into power, he has been a lot more ambitious on a unification of Taiwan. And he has, on multiple occasions, mentioned the possibility of using force, aka declaring war on Taiwan to achieve unification. Now, some of you might have questions on why is the relationship between Taiwan and China so complicated. Well, that is a story for another time. In the future, we will have a dedicated episode telling our audience why China and Taiwan is like this right now. But that is for another time. So tonight's main question is, will China attack Taiwan? Well, to put it simply, it really depends. It depends on two things. The first thing is the internal agreement within the CCP. Does all of the top level CCP members, people in the standing committee, people that in the Xi Jinping's cabinet, the people that are in control of the army, are they all united on the idea of invading Taiwan and unifying Taiwan by force? Now, that is the first question. The second question is, well, how would the rest of the world react? If the rest of the world react really strongly to a potential invasion of Taiwan, then we might see a different these two reasons in details. The first one, how united is the Chinese Communist Party on unification of Taiwan. Now, this is now from the CCP perspective, a unification of agreement is actually relatively easy to achieve. Because there's a lot of different tools at General Secretary Xi Jinping's disposal. He can fire you, he can put you in jail, he can put political pressure on you, he can bribe you. There's a lot of tools he can do to get you on his side to attack Taiwan. Now, recently there has been some. Recently, one of the most aggressive, one of the most aggressive pushers for a violent unification of Taiwan is the person called Hu Xijin. He has been calling out on attacking Taiwan on multiple fronts. He personally believes right now is the best chance for the People's Liberation Army to attack Taiwan, and the reason is he believes because of the Chinese Communist Party virus, or the CCP virus, or the coronavirus, COVID-19, however you want to call it, has bring disasters to the entire globe. Economies were shut down. Countries are facing some of the deepest recessions in decades, and also because of economics problems. It also leads to society problems, and we see that we see the best example here in the United States. You have the Black Lives Matter movements. You have Antifa. You have all these you have the Democrat Party utilizing the virus as a political weapon to attack the Trump administration, specifically Nancy Pelosi, claiming that the coronavirus is the Trump virus. So they're definitely using the coronavirus as a weapon, as a political weapon, which cause internal instability here in the United States, and such phenomenon is pretty widespread. You look at Great Britain; they were having massive Black Lives Matter protests, Antifa protests. Many statues were torn down. Many churches got burned. So this situation is widespread. That is why Hu Xijin believes right now is the best time for China to attack Taiwan, because of internal problems. The West will not be ready to defend Taiwan. But however, right now the idea of attacking Taiwan is not 100% unified inside the Chinese Communist Party. There were many people. Interestingly, there are many people from the military of China questioning whether or not China should or will attack Taiwan, and the way that some people from the Chinese military look at this problem is, if they make an assumption that if China is able to take over Taiwan, can China actually have the ability to absorb Taiwan, and what kind of and can China's economy handle Taiwan? What do I mean by that? Now, here's the thing: if you declare war on Taiwan, you will have bomb drops. You will have people died. You will have the city destroyed. It basically will destroy the Taiwan economy. Many cities will be destroyed. So the entire island will have to be rebuilt. And that is a huge amount of money. And because of a war, many people will lose their job. Many companies will be shut down, destroyed, or whatever. So right after a war, you will have a really big unemployment population. And that unemployment population will be something that you have to deal with. And also the entire island will have to be rebuilt. Now we know that the coronavirus has been affecting the entire global economy, and China, as the second largest economy in the world, is definitely part of the global economy system. And China itself is facing a huge economic problem. So with so much debt and a financial problem, some people in the military question whether or not China can actually sustain Taiwan's economy or sustain its own economy and Taiwan's economy after a unification war. So that is basically the current situation within the Chinese Communist Party. How unified they are on this idea, and as you can see, even within the Chinese Communist Party, the idea of attacking Taiwan and violent unification is not unified. People are not completely unified on this idea. So, any questions so far, ladies?
Yeah, I have one. I mean, I think it depends on different situations whether China, the CCP would finally take the move to attack Taiwan. But I do know one thing. I do know is that the politicians and also the political situations in Taiwan has been, in my opinion, very promising to go further and further from the CCP's control. I mean, you can see the polls, and also you can see the election result. It has reached to the historical number. My question is, how much do you think that the Hong Kong protest and demonstration has something to do with this change in Taiwan? Because that's happened right after the suffering and all the difficulties that the Hong Kongers have been through after since last year, the demonstration. So that's my question.
Okay, yeah, that is a good question, and we actually and to be fair, we can actually do an entire episode on that. But one thing we have to understand, after Deng Xiaoping came into power, the way that he suggested a peaceful unification between the mainland and Taiwan, and people kind of went with the idea, was because Deng Xiaoping and his allies or comrades, however you like to call them, they suggested an idea called one country, two systems. So mainland China will have its dictatorship system and special territories or administration zones, such as Taiwan, Macau, Hong Kong, will have democracy, capitalistic systems. That is the one country, two system. So a lot of people actually bought into that, including a lot of people from Hong Kong, and because they think, oh, we are the same type of people, we have really similar culture, we pretty much speak the same language. So okay, so they kind of have the idea to unify anyway. But however, the biggest thing that happened in Hong Kong was was recently the national security law. It basically killed the one country, two system. No longer Hong Kong has jurisdiction, has a juridical and legal independence independence from China. Basically, the Hong Kong national security law oversees every single law that is currently in Hong Kong. So after national security law happened, basically everybody, the people from Taiwan see not the national security law, but before the national security law, actually the anti-extradition law, that will allow mainland cops and special forces into Hong Kong and arrest anybody in Hong Kong and then bring them back to China. This law, the anti-extradition law, was what triggered the Taiwan people, and they realized, wow, the one country, two system is a lie. What the Chinese Communist Party really wants is a complete unification of land areas, land masses, ideology, and law. The one country, two system was a lie, and Hong Kong paid a really deep price. And that is how across the Taiwan Strait, the Taiwan people saw what happened in Hong Kong, and they were like, we are not going to let what happened to Hong Kong happen to us. And that is why in 2019 the people of Taiwan use their votes to show CCP that they want Taiwan to maintain its independence and democracy system, capitalistic system, and stay the hell away from mainland China. So so Hong Kong definitely was a key factor when it comes to the 2019 general election in Taiwan.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if we like hypothetically speaking, if we took a vote on China attack Taiwan, do you think that for people in mainland China, if they got the chance finally to vote for something, whether like suddenly the CCP just all of a sudden have this vote and asking Chinese people whether they want China to attack Taiwan, then what do you think would be the result? Would you think that the majority of Chinese people in mainland China would like the CCP, the PLA to attack Taiwan, or nobody cares?
I think, for personally speaking, I think nobody will care because here's how I look at it. When you look from an average Chinese citizen's perspective, the attack on Taiwan doesn't do him or her any good, right? If the Chinese
wrong, basically they are not connected, to be honest.
Yeah, they're not connected. Like, if China take over Taiwan tomorrow, would you get promoted in your company? No. Would you get a raise in your salary? No. Would you get more food? No. Are you gonna live in a bigger house? No. Are you gonna get a
are you gonna get
a beautiful girlfriend? No. I mean, why it doesn't matter to a lot of the mainland, the people in mainland, but I think a lot of people will probably oppose it because an attack on Taiwan is not an easy task. That is also something we can do in an episode. Taiwan is actually extremely well defended. Taiwan actually has the most concentrated anti-air missile system on the entire globe. No other place on this planet has that much concentration on anti-air missiles. If the Chinese Communist Party wants to take over Taiwan, they must do an amphibious assault. But your amphibious assault, like landing in Normandy, that is an amphibious assault. But if you want to do an amphibious assault and you don't have air superiority, it's basically a suicide mission, and that would be something we can go over in detail in some future episode. Why Taiwan is actually a really tough nut to crack when it comes to military invasion. Now,
right.
Yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of money spent on attacking Taiwan, and a lot of people's life would be lost. And it's completely not necessary because Taiwan is not going to invade mainland China. Taiwan is not going to invade mainland China and take over Shanghai, take over Guangzhou, or potentially take over Beijing. No, Taiwan is not going to do that. So why would you fight? Why would you fight this war? Right? Why would the United States attack Canada? What's the point? What's the point? There's no point. So yeah. So personally speaking, for average Chinese people, I think most of them are either going to don't care, or I believe a big number of them will actually oppose the idea of an invasion. Okay, now the second point I want to talk about is foreign interference. This is actually key. This is actually key because, like I said, there are many tools available for Xi Jinping. He can do a lot of things to bring people to his side: fear, bribery, whatever. But one thing Xi Jinping doesn't have a lot of power is how foreign countries will react to a potential invasion to Taiwan. And we already saw this happen because just 2 months ago, the United States passed the Taiwan Protection Act. And it was a 100% agreement in Congress, which you don't really see that much, because you normally, when you turn on TV, you see the Democrats and the Republicans at each other's throats. But this time, when it comes to the security of Taiwan, it passed with overwhelming agreement. Okay. Another thing? What when we look at World War II, we can see how foreign interference affect the progress of war. Because before Hitler invaded Czechoslovakia and then Poland, there's the thing called the appeasement, political political movement appeasement. Like for example, one of the prime example that for the appeasement campaign was the former British Prime Minister Chamberlain. Chamberlain was all about appeasing Adolf Hitler. When Nazi Germany expand its army, its navy, and air force, basically broke the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed after World War One. The British did nothing. And then Germany basically took over the Austrian Empire. The British did nothing, and then the Germans crossed into the Rhinelands. Once again, the British and the French did nothing. So all of these actions, all of these reactions from Britain and France is telling Adolf Hitler that, hey, I can do whatever the hell I want, and these people will not do anything. So right after Adolf Hitler crossed into the Rhineland and then basically took over the Austrian Empire, what did he do? He immediately invaded Czechoslovakia, and even when he invaded Czechoslovakia, the British government and the French government still did nothing. So after that, Hitler said, "Hey, I did all of these. I forcefully take over Czechoslovakia, and you guys still didn't do anything. Guess what? The next time I'm going to invade Poland." And that's how he invaded Poland. And then that's when the British was like, "Okay, enough, no more." They declared war on Germany, and that's how World War II gets started. So and here's the thing: if the British and the French actually did something to Germany before Adolf Hitler was able to get so far, maybe World War II would have been prevented. But however, they didn't. They could have put on economic sanctions. They could literally have military actions to Nazi Germany, but they didn't do all those. And over here in China, it's really similar. Because we have the Chinese government overtake Hong Kong, which is like, which is kind of like Adolf Hitler overtaking Czechoslovakia. Because one of the reasons why Adolf Hitler said that I should take over Czechoslovakia is because Czechoslovakia had a huge amount of German population. A lot of people there speak German, so they were like, "Oh, you have German people here too, so you should belong to the German Empire. I should unify you." And here in Hong Kong, it's kind of like the same thing. The Hong Kong people and the Chinese people are all the same race. I mean, they're the same race, and many of the people in Hong Kong, they speak Cantonese, and the people in the Canton province or the Guangdong province, they also speak Cantonese. They have really, really similar culture. So now the Chinese Communist Party take over Hong Kong. It's like Nazi Germany took over Czechoslovakia, However, this time around it's a little bit different because there are a lot of reactions from across the ocean. We have the American government immediately passed the Hong Kong the Hong Kong Act, and we have the British government accused the Chinese Communist Party, and recently they banned all activities. They banned all Huawei activities in Britain, and they also opened a refugee program for the Hong Kong people. And here and across the Atlantic in Washington, you have the Hong Kong Act, which I just talked about, and now you also have you also have a massive ban of Chinese companies in the United States, either by stopping them from buying stock, by stopping American company investing in this Chinese company, basically to cut off the financial supply to the Chinese Communist government. And also just last week, the biggest sanction came on the on the Hong Kong governor, which is Carrie Lam. Obviously now is obvious right now the U.S. government in general is only focused on Carrie Lam herself. There hasn't been any sanctions against her families or her personal asset. But however, this is definitely a really good show of hands that how far, and shows the Chinese Communist Party how far the United States will go if China continue this aggressive expanse into Hong Kong and potentially Taiwan. Also, if you have been paying attention to the news, there were 2 carrier groups that is currently stationed in the South China Sea, and now the U.S. carrier group have been joined by the Japanese Navy, the Australian navies, and even the British Navy as well. And just last week, the British Navy sent their latest carrier, I think it's called Queen Elizabeth II or whatever, into South China Sea. And so right now there is actually a ginormous navy right at the front door of Taiwan. So this is definitely a show of hand to the Chinese Communist Party that, hey, be careful what you want to do next, because we have a massive military force at your front door, and if you try something funny with Taiwan, you will have huge consequences. And all of these things did not happen in World War II. Back to World War II, nobody sanctioned Hitler. Nobody sanctioned Hitler and his generals. And also, the British Navy didn't set up the British Navy or the French Navy. They didn't unify and set up a huge blockade along the German coastline and block Germany from getting supplies or food. None of this happened. But however, this time around, when it comes to Taiwan, it's a bit different. So personally speaking, I'm actually optimistic when it comes to Taiwan. I sincerely believe that the global community, especially Western powers, will react in the right way for a potential China attack on Taiwan. So those are the 2 things that will decide whether or not China will attack Taiwan, and both need to happen. First, there has to be a unified agreement within the Chinese Communist Party that violence is the only solution. That's the first thing. The second thing is the Western powers will have to sit back and watch China take over Taiwan. If those 2 things happened, I believe the possibility of Xi Jinping invading Taiwan is over 90%. But however, based on what we are seeing right now, the ununified CCP party and a massive navy armada right on the South China Sea, I believe personally, my own opinion is that a violent army invasion of the island of Taiwan is not really likely. Okay. Any more questions?
And yes, I do. I do have 2 questions, and the first question is actually, maybe lots of people already, pay lots of attention to what's taking place right now in China after the coronavirus, which is we call CCP virus, is taking place at the beginning of the year. China's economy is obviously going south. Basically, on top of other issues, including the flooding in the southern area and the U.S.-China conflicts, the trade war, right now is the Taiwan and the South Asia Sea conflicts. So those are the challenges that China facing, which is already very disheartening to the Chinese Communist Party. But why you think Xi Jinping at this moment that already this much challenge is on his desk that he has to face, why he's still trying to unificate the Taiwan? Why it's so important to Xi Jinping himself? Do you think it's like there are some benefits that the CCP can get from attacking Taiwan, or is there like an economic concern that the China getting like a more technology or anything else, or just like a Xi Jinping's personal problem? That's his personal, maybe ambitious about like how he can achieve in the future. Probably the biggest and the greatest leader in the Chinese Communist Party history. What's your thought on this?
Mm-hmm. That was a really good question, and that is something we can definitely spend another episode talking because the reason why right now is the time to attack Taiwan has a lot to do with a dictatorship political system. So let me give you a example. So for people that is kind of familiar with the Chinese history, even you only know a little bit, you will know that in China there is the Great Leap Forward, and during the Great Leap Forward, a lot of people starved to death. Basically, anything estimated from like 30 million to 40
is that happening in 1951?
So the 3-year Great Famine actually happened from 1958 to 1959 to 1962, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, Xi Jinping doing so, he wanted to be the greatest leader in the CCP parties is very obvious, because right now he is manipulating the Chinese trade power and all this reserve, the US dollar and everything else, whatever China has, that he manipulating it to kind of dominate the world and the new order that he wanted to create. But my question was, my concern was really that even back to Mao Zedong at the beginning, he creates the CCP government to conquer the China. But even Mao Zedong himself, he didn't touch Hong Kong, and he wasn't really trying to attack Taiwan. Well, maybe he planned it, but he never done that. But right now, Xi Jinping is doing both things. And it really, I was shocking because, when I hear all these things about Xi Jinping, so what do you think? Why he had that thought? Do you think he can't get that from Mao Zedong, or that's his personal goal to is that his goal to achieve as a leader? What do you think?
Yeah. So in a dictatorship country, the number one thing that the dictator has to do is maintain power and maintain renown. But however, Xi Jinping's renown, popularity, and respect has went down the drain. Given what has happened in the past few years, you have a slowing down economy, you have the coronavirus, and now you have flooding, and then you created this whole Hong Kong mess. So to re-establish power, to re-establish respect, to re-establish renown, he has to do something great, right? He has to do something great, something that will show everybody inside CCP that he knows that his idea is correct, his direction for the country is correct.
Okay.
And that is usually done by a war, because another thing that we talk about recently is the China and India border friction. Now we all of us know that the China and India actually had a war back to 1962. by 1962, and in that war, China won. And one of the big reasons why China wanted a war with India at the border was because domestically Mao is facing a lot of political pressure because everything he did in the past 10 years failed. His Great Leap Forward failed, and after his failure of Great Leap Forward, it created this 3-year famine, which in China they call the 3-year natural disaster. 3年自然灾害 the 3-year natural disaster. So within the party, he's facing a lot of political pressure. His popularity, his renown, his respect all went down to the drain. What did he do? Well, he started a war. He started a war with China and India, and which happened in 1962. When did the 3-year famine ended? Well, technically speaking, it ended in 1961. But however, you have a lot of villages still hungry all the way into like 1962 and 1963. So to correct his past mistake, to re-establish himself as the true leader of the Chinese Communist Party, he had a war with India and he won, great time. The Red Army defeated the Indian Army with less army, and it was a quick war. So once again, after this war, what happened? Chairman Mao once again was re-recognized as the party leader, the true leader of the Chinese Communist Party. And so what dictators tend to do is when they have domestic problems, they tend to look for a bigger conflict, a bigger problem to shift the domestic attention away. Right? In the case of China-India war in 1962, it was to shift all those domestic problems, especially hunger and internal power struggle within the CCP party, away to a war between China and India, because wars between two nations, supersede all of these, starving issues, internal party political struggle issue, because we are at war. And you win a war, you re-establish yourself. And this is the reason. And this is the reason why our General Secretary Xi Jinping is strongly considering a war with Taiwan, because at this moment there are way too many domestic problems that the CCP need to deal with, and many of those problems are impossible to deal with. Impossible.
Okay.
They can't solve it. So how do we shift domestic attention? Invade Taiwan.
Okay. And it sounds like from your previous speech that it sounds like the system that Mao Zedong created, it's already a proven wrong system. That's why China was undeveloped and the people starving to death and all that, and the people doesn't have enough food, they don't have economic improvement, nothing during under his dictatorship. But why? My next question is on the U.S. perspective. Why U.S. and all together with UK, Japan, all in right now get between the Taiwan and China conflicts, as well as the South Asia Sea conflicts, and all this country, including Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, all these countries are kind of bullied by Chinese Communist Party. Now they're getting very angry. Do you think this is one of the reasons that the U.S. and the free world is all in right now with the conflict between the China and the rest of the South Asian countries?
This is actually a really interesting question. If you look at history, nobody goes to war for free. So I have yet to see a war that happened because somebody wants to be the good guy. There's always economic benefits. when a war is about to happen. So here in the South China Sea, I think it's the same reason because if you look at the United States, United States never go to war for free. What are you talking about? No, it never happened. So the main reason why South China Sea is so important is because the South China Sea is the world's busiest shipping. The world's busiest shipping lanes go over the South China Sea, and all of those nations along the South China Sea depends on these shipping routes to keep their economy alive. Most importantly, there are two countries that completely relies on the South China Sea: Japan and South Korea. And both of these two countries are the most important allies of the United States. So Japan got 99% of its oil import from aboard. Japan doesn't produce any oil. 99% of those oil are imported. And guess what? Guess where those oil tankers go through when they have to ship those oil to Japan? The South China Sea. Same with South Korea.
Correct.
Yeah, all of these two countries they don't have any resources. Both of them, they lack minerals, they lack oil, they lack food. Especially Japan. Like Japan is such a small country, but they have a huge population. So they depend on imported food. They depend on imported energy. So if China can control the South China Sea. Oh no, I forgot. There's another one. Taiwan, right? Taiwan doesn't produce oil. Taiwan doesn't produce minerals. And Taiwan has the world's most advanced semiconductor manufacturing industry. Where do those materials come from? Well, it comes from some ships that is going through the South China Sea. So if China can control can control the South China Sea, it can basically starve Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea to death.
Correct.
It's that easy. It's that easy. Yeah, and then you look further down to the east. You have a lot of the ships from Australia also going through the South China Sea into China and into other nations along the coast. For example, Vietnam, Thailand, and all of those countries. A lot of them buy raw materials from Australia. So if China can control the South China Sea, it basically can exert control on a huge amount of Southeast Asia, South Asia, and East Asia countries. And that is why the United States...
lots of Southeast Asia countries right now, including Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Taiwan, of course, and Korea, Japan. They also have a lots of shipments go to Europe and United States as well. So if China control that, basically the free world is the throat is being choked by the CCP actually. It's a huge economic concern that okay, I got it. Okay, thank you. That's all my question for today. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Any more questions? Because this is the end of my presentation tonight. No more questions? Okay.
No more. We appreciate
it. No more. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. We will see you once again next week at the same time of China 101. We only do this program every once a week, and tune in once again, same time next week Sunday at the same time, and we will discuss our next topic regarding China. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.